Good morning, Dr. Bauer. We are on Facebook Live. It is our February edition of Superintendent Live. I'm Bob Gilmer, Coordinator of Communications Media with the Superintendent of North Penn Schools, Dr. Todd Bauer. Good morning. How are we doing on this glorious Tuesday morning, Dr. Bauer?
I'm doing great, Bob. Always see this agenda item on my calendar, and I'm excited to sit down and chat with you. I keep saying this, and I hope folks will share the video and encourage their friends to watch, but we get over 1,000 views a month, which is pretty great. And considering the content, right, board meetings and business of the district, I think 1,000 people watching it's pretty exciting. So we're going to keep it up as long as the people want it. And here we are.
Well, I guess I'll start off, and maybe you have some shout outs. I'll give a shout out to Ann Drouse, who's over at the MCIU. We were doing our course advancement night, and she was talking pre-show about how much she loves our chats and the updates. So shout out to Ann. She's a frequent viewer, so appreciate that. Do you have any shout outs here from people? Any shout outs you want to give?
You know, I hear it all the time, Bob. Like when I do my caffeinated conversations or community conversations, get out there and talk with folks, they'll say like anecdotally, like, by the way, I really like those chats with you and Bob. So some of it I think is the camaraderie or chemistry that you and I have. And some I think they'd much rather watch this than watch a board meeting.
Well, hopefully we can give some updates. It gives them as much information as a full board meeting. But we always say they're always on YouTube. So if you want to go watch the whole thing and get into the details, it's on board docs, it's on YouTube, and you can always watch. So this last action meeting on Thursday was at Upper Gwinnett. Talk about our hosts there, the Upper Gwinnett Township, and our meeting and the folks that came in to give a special presentation that night.
Right. So for those who are unaware, we have been rotating the meetings to the local municipalities, and all of them have been such generous hosts. And this month was no different. We went to Upper Gwinnett Township. We partnered with them. We used their boardroom. And it is nice to be in a true boardroom, which we really don't have in the district, where, you know, you actually have a space that is made to host board meetings. You do a great job wherever we have our meetings, Bob, but it does feel good to be in a true boardroom. So Upper Gwinnett was no exception. We also had Chief Duffy there in the audience for support. And many people from Upper Gwinnett helped to facilitate making that happen. When we go to these local buildings, we try to highlight a student group. We've done middle school, high school, and elementary schools. This month, we highlighted Gwinnett Square Elementary under the leadership of Mr. Jason Bashall, the principal. And the students just came forth and told us why they love their school and why Gwinnett Square is the best elementary in their eyes. So it's just great to hear from the kids, hear about their experiences and what they're doing. Us adults and folks in the community have a lot to say. And of course, that feedback is always warranted and appreciated, but to hear it directly from the kids is special. And it's great to hear about how much they love their school.
Yeah, they were impressive. There's really great job speaking. As you know, and many people know, it's not easy getting up to a podium in a room full of folks and presenting to the school board or presenting to anybody. And our kids did such a great job. I cannot remember, because it was also fun, that the Panther mascot came, and I can't remember his name or the mascot's name. So I don't know if you remember. If there's any Gwinnett Square families watching this right now, shoot that in the comments, because I cannot remember the name of the mascot for Gwinnett Square. The mascot definitely has a name.
I think they just referred to him as the Prideful Panther.
Prideful Panther? That's probably it. That's probably it. So if that's a name, throw it in there. Confirm for us, know what's going on there. One of the things, right off the top of the meetings, one of the things I've noticed, and we'll get into some of the action items in there. We've seen this in a couple meetings now. Something different that we see from the audience, outside of audience as citizens, is that we've had some folks stand up and they say, I object, at the top of the meeting or during an action item. What's going on there? What are we seeing that when we have residents stand up and say, I object, and then the board has a discussion, and what's going on in that scenario?
Right. So the Sunshine Law, which is the law that essentially dictates how boards need to operate, and public entities such as a school district, says that you can object during a meeting at any time if it's a Sunshine Law objection. So meaning you're breaking the Sunshine Law. And typically, the Sunshine Law essentially says you can't have a quorum of the committee or the board meet without notification of the public and posting the agenda and all these things that you have to do. And you have to allow for public comment prior to the board taking action. So if you are going to object that something was a violation of the Sunshine Law, you can do that at any time. So now what the Sunshine Law does not say is that you need to rule on the objection. So you could stand up, Mr. Gilmer, as a community member and taxpayer of the North Penn School District, and say, I object. And we would ask, what is your objection? And you could say, I wasn't given the opportunity to comment prior to you taking action on this. And we would say, okay, make sure that the minutes reflect Mr. Gilmer's objection. And I'm sure there are circumstances where sometimes there's a mistake. Sometimes the solicitor, the board president, who is the presiding officer, will choose to just move on. And there are other times where maybe it would alter the way in which you go about the meeting. So you're only allowed to object to perceived violations of the Sunshine Law. Understood. So you can't just say, I don't like that you are repaving this parking lot. I object. You can't do that. Yep. It's an objection to the Sunshine Law itself.
Gotcha. Understood. So when people see that at some of the meetings, that's kind of what you're going on, and it's important to listen to what the objection is. And then you'll get a little bit more information there. So let's talk about some of the agenda items. This February seemed to kind of be like a run-of-the-mill school board meeting, right? There's no massive big things, but there's some points of note. And we'll give a shout out to like our facilities group and our business office for a couple things coming up here. So natural gas was a little bit of discussion there. We all know gas prices in general. Natural gas, if you've got your readjustment on your PICO bill, you see some adjustments there. Talk about us locking in our prices for our natural gas contract for the next year and why that's important, and give the shout out to folks that got this price right when it was perfect.
Yeah, so I don't have the number at my fingertips. I'm sure you can find it for me. I think it was like 2.8 cents per decatherm.
Decatherms, that's right.
Yeah, it is not necessarily in my wheelhouse. I'm more on the curricular and assessment side and the teaching and learning side than I am the energy side. But that's why we have experts in these fields, right? So obviously, energy fuel costs have been very volatile for the last couple of years, and we all feel it at the pump. And it just so happens that the cost for the natural gas, which obviously we are a large consumer of as a huge organization with 21 facilities and propane buses and things of that sort, that we keep an eye on the markets. And we have agreements with supply companies. And it just so happens that natural gas plummeted recently. And we were able to, exploit that fact and lock in a rate that is one of the lowest rates in recent history. So we are anticipating, I believe, just this year, over $100,000 in cost savings over our projected budget because of how expensive we were anticipating natural gas to be this year. So really pleased with that. Some people might check real estate prices or other things daily. Our Director of Facilities and Operations, Mr. Tom Schneider, and our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Steve Scrocky, they find joy in not only checking the stock market, but in checking
our decatherm prices. Yeah. It's 2.806 per decatherm. So
that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, great job for that. And that's locked in for the next 6 months. And then obviously we don't get to lock that in for the next 10 years kind of thing. So they're constantly looking at it. And it is worth at our facilities and operations meetings to hear. There's sometimes I thought they were making up terms, but no, they're all right. Decatherms. And I forget the going up and the going down numbers. I even said that to you. I'm like, I think they're making those names up. And like, nope, they're just that good of an expert. I'm like, well, now I've learned some new terms. Yeah. I wish I could remember the new terms, but
yeah, Bob, if I could interrupt, last month you and I talked about how, the committee meeting structure is really where the business and the detail and the granular detail is discussed, debated, and shared with the public and board members. Right. So that's a great example. At the facilities and operations meetings, they explain all that and the energy costs and where we are and how we locked in that rate. And then at the action meeting, You
It's
hear
just a
me
vote.
make a recommendation to lock in this rate. And it's just a vote. And,
Yep.
and people might say, well, they voted 9-0 and they didn't discuss it. No, we did discuss it.
At length.
We discussed it at length, sometimes ad nauseum, right?
Yep.
At the committee meeting. So there is discussion, debate, education, deliberation, and the committee meeting structure. The action meeting is really like, okay, we've discussed this. Now let's vote.
That's a great, yeah, that's a great point. A lot of times, if you're coming out for a particular issue that you're aware of or something you want to learn more about, many times it's the only meeting you ever attended at an action meeting. It's like, I can't believe they didn't discuss this. Now, for sure, you've seen it in the committee meeting prior, but most likely on some of these bigger issues, we've discussed it for a year or more at these committee meetings. So it's a great point. And again, if you ever need to go back and check it out, they're all on YouTube. They're all in board docs that you can go check out. So talking about another thing we've talked about in ad nauseum is the healthcare center. So we're coming up on that. We're excited. What are we looking at for an opening date for our staff on the healthcare center that's now located over at Penndale Middle School?
Yeah. So if you haven't driven past Penn Street there, the main entrance, if you go past the main entrance, if you're headed down the hill, like towards the auditorium at Penndale Middle School, you will notice a new modular construction down there closer to the parking lot. That is the healthcare center that is well documented, again, ad nauseum, but that's anticipated to open inside of 2 weeks. So really excited about the opportunity for our staff and their dependents to get healthcare at a convenient location with no copays, no prescription costs, no cost for blood work, things such as this, right here in the district. And we can be flexible in terms of scheduling that and getting people access. So we look to eventually expand the program to maybe allow substitutes who are not benefits eligible employees. Thank you. Sorry for that. And to get them free access to the healthcare center. So we hope that it'll be a recruitment tool and another reason for people to want to work here and stay here. So, and of course, there's the projections are dramatic cost savings to the taxpayer in the long run, because you are effectively removing the administrative costs when you are providing the healthcare. Now, we are subcontracting with a company called Everside to provide a nurse practitioner and assistant in the actual office itself. But now we are, instead of having people go all over the place, we have this opportunity right inside the district at a centrally located place.
And I can guarantee you there will be lots of coverage by North Penn Television. So you'll learn more about it as that opens up, and probably see something on our next North Penn Right Now. And who knows what we might see on our next Superintendent Live Facebook update here. Two other items quickly just to talk about from the agenda. Our award-winning rebate program was approved for the next year for our residents. Quickly, how do residents find out about if they're eligible for the rebate and when and how they should apply to get the school tax rebate?
So I'll tell you this, everything is available on our website, everything. So if you go to npenn.org and you go to the business office, you can absolutely find information about our award-winning tax rebate program. Talk about ad nauseum, Mr. Scrocky. But it's certain income levels and certain parameters that if you meet them, you're eligible. And some folks got 100% of the real estate taxes reimbursed. So just a way that we can really help folks in our community. And unfortunately, the percentage of folks who participate is lower than one would want. So if you know of somebody who you think might be eligible in our community, please check out the website or email me or you or Mr. Scrocky, anybody. My email address, by the way, is Bauer, Bauer, TM, as in Todd Michael, at npenn.org. Happy to forward your email to the right person. But we want as many people as are eligible to apply so we can help them with their real estate taxes.
Excellent. And then another item on the agenda that's outside of the normal operation every year. We have a new contract with a company called Bus Patrol. Quickly tell me about that.
So Bus Patrol, we have a technology that essentially records anyone who runs a bus stop sign. Right. So when the buses stop, you see the flashing yellow lights, then eventually the flashing red lights, the stop sign comes out, the yellow arm comes out, and kids hop on the bus. Unfortunately, it is not unusual for people to run that stop sign, creating a very unsafe situation for all parties involved. So to kind of crack down on that, there are surveillance video cameras located on the bus and inside the bus. There was no cost to the district for this, but there is a revenue sharing of the proceeds that come from ticketing of folks who are caught running these stop signs. So ultimately, the desired outcome is that people stop running the stop signs and that kids are safer. And we get new security cameras on the outside and inside of the buses as a result. And the video footage is actually cloud-based. So right now, if there's an infraction on the bus, let's say a student misbehaves, does something they shouldn't do, and we want to watch the video, our transportation department actually has to, when the bus comes back, we have to climb on the bus, pull out the hard drive, extract the video, upload it to the server so that the principal, for example, can check it out. Now, this would all be cloud-based and you can get it essentially in real time. So school safety being a priority before anything else, I think this is a good thing for North Penn and the community.
No, it's great, and no cost for us from that standpoint. And the goal would be that we don't have a lot of infractions, so that at least people being aware of this too may help us keep those infractions down, because it's scary when that happens. And people have, I know most of us have probably seen it happen. Sitting there and seeing a car go straight through, it's a scary, scary thing. So if we can help reduce that and hold people accountable when that happens, it's a good thing all the way around. The other thing, I'm just going to rewind a little bit and be mindful of our time because we have so many topics to talk about. That on February 7th, I would call it our kickoff launch. We've been talking about it for a while now, but the first presentation to the community about our need for renovation at North Penn High School. We've all heard about the ninth grade center discussion and concept of bringing ninth grade to the high school, and the other parameters that begin to surround our process to begin saying, what are we going to be doing here at North Penn High School, and what's going to define what our high school looks like for the next 50 years. We've got only a few minutes here, and this is a huge topic, but let's talk about that kickoff and what community members can expect to hear from us moving forward, and how the discussion will kind of ramp out from there.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Bob. So I speak about this at every single opportunity, and I suspect I will continue to do so for the next couple of years. And North Penn High School, if you haven't watched the meeting from March 7th, highly encourage you go to our YouTube channel and watch the March 7th presentation. But North Penn High School is due to be renovated. Certainly when you have a school district with 21 buildings, that is 18 schools, our support services center, our education services center, and the transportation garage. We have a rotation of renovating buildings, and you have to obviously take care of your assets, right? So you take care of your homes, we take care of our schools. And as a result, we are engaging now in formal conversations about when we will be renovating North Penn High School and how we will do so. And so the question comes forth: when you are renovating a building that is 550,000 square feet, if you're going to do it, and you probably won't come back around to that building in our lifetime, right? Another 50, 60 years. Yep. Is there anything we want to do while we're there? And the answer to that question is, in my mind, yes. We would like every other high school in Montgomery County, and now I believe in Bucks County, soon to be in Bucks County, have ninth grade at our high school campus. Ninth graders are considered to be high school students. It counts on their high school transcript. And our resources are spread out in a way that makes some opportunities challenging for kids, right? To run all the clubs, all the sports, all the activities, all these things in 3 separate middle schools. Oh, and by the way, we have North Monco Technical Career Center. We have varsity athletics. We have JV athletics. We have all these things that happen at North Penn High School that are difficult when your ninth graders are in 3 different buildings. And couple that with the costs of transporting them to and fro. We have it estimated that roughly 15% of kids in ninth grade come to the high school campus anyway, each day, for curricular needs. So whether that's a reading course, an advanced placement course, the technical career center, whatever it is, 15% of kids get on a bus, drive over to the high school, and then get on a bus and drive over to the middle school and end their day at their middle school, which makes their day longer than their peers, right? Because they're starting at the high school start time and ending at the middle school start. All because we aren't able to offer all the same opportunities across all 4 buildings, I'll say, or 5 if you include Northbridge. So the high school, 3 middle schools, and Northbridge. So I think it is absolutely worthy of the conversation and serious consideration. There's a reason that over 95% of high schools in the country have 9th grade on their campus. We are not one of them. And if we're going to do this and we want to do it right, does that mean 9th grade comes over to the high school campus? So the project is going to take years. So I don't want to give false hope here. You talk to high school kids, they're like, oh, when's it going to be done? I'm like,
not while you're here.
You'll be 30.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not that long, but this is going to take 7 or 8 years between, permitting, land development, design, then the construction itself.
The phasing of the construction all by itself. Yeah. And most, I would say many parents have been through renovations at the elementary school. And we know that, an elementary school is usually a 2-ish year process, and that we got to move people around in order to renovate certain sections of the building. So that all by itself is a component of the timeline, not just all of the planning and design and permits. That's a big portion of it. But even once we get to whatever we're going to be doing renovation wise, it's going to take a little time to go through the process. That at the end of this, for sure, the kids that are in this high school right now will not see the completion of this while they're in high school. That's a for sure.
That's for sure.
Yep, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say that you're probably talking about the older elementary kids at this point, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. They will be at the new North Penn High School.
Yep. So our next work session on March 7th, we're going to be continuing the conversations. And I don't know if that's going to be a standard work session thing, but for sure, I think in every component of discussion of what we're going to be doing here is going to touch our committee meetings or work sessions and action meetings as we go through over the next several months going into next year, all of that. What would we expect to see at the March 7th meeting, and what would people who are attending or watching see there about the high school project moving forward?
So at the last meeting here in February, we discussed the need to renovate. That the building was opened in 1971. Most of the building has not been touched since. And the systems, I use the phrase, they're tired. Millions of dollars in repairs over the last few years. We have pipes bursting regularly. Just the challenges that come with infrastructure that's over 50 years old. And by the way, if you have not seen the video put together by Mr. Bob Gilmer on the history of North Penn High School, it is worth 3 minutes and 41 seconds of your time. It is awesome. Bob, great job. So at that meeting, we just discussed the need and the desire to renovate North Penn High School. And then at the next meeting, we're really going to talk about the options, like moving 9th grade there, not moving 9th grade there. And then are we renovating just what we would call a systems renovation, meaning new paint, new floor, new ceiling, new electrical systems, HVAC, all those things? Or are we talking about like a total renovation overhaul of North Penn High School, similar to that of Knapp Elementary? So for those who saw Knapp pre-renovation and post, it's a dramatically different building now. It's not just a system renovation. So really the 3 options you'll see are 9th grade moving up to the high school and a total renovation, a systems renovation, or finally a total renovation, but keeping it 10 to 12. But keeping that building 10 to 12 will then mean we need to renovate 3 middle schools in the long run. Right. So major conversations coming forward, and we'll also hear from our financial advisors, PFM, and Mr. Scrocky, our CFO, about the taxpayer impact of these 3 options. So that's March 7th. And then we are hoping to have a facilities forum in April where folks can come and hear more about the project itself and ask questions. We can kind of do a Q&A. I suspect Mr. Gilmer, you'll be involved and maybe moderating somehow. And then April, I would anticipate that our board of directors takes a vote.
Gotcha. And that's important. And that's where we do want to hear back from the community and your thoughts as you hear these pieces. And it's a lot. There's a lot to digest about this project. It is so big. So from the plan, what we're going to do, the financing of it, the costs, all of it. So it's really important to all of us that we hear that feedback from our community through and through: students, parents, community members, all taxpayers. This is we talk about like the work happening ahead of time. these are the meetings that it's happening now to talk about where we might be going. And the feedback is really critical right now as we go into looking at what we end up doing and moving forward. The time to say, like, I don't think ninth grade should be here wouldn't be 3 years from now when we might put a shovel in the ground. It's now. So this is where we really want to hear back from our community about what's going on. All right, I'm mindful of our time here.
Real quick, Bob, I just want one more statement on that.
Sure.
I will say, as someone, the former principal at North Penn High School, and someone who has pretty intimate knowledge of the inner workings of the facility, inaction is not an option.
Yep.
When I got here 8 years ago, they had recently tabled discussions of renovating. I mean, we've been talking about renovating North Penn High School for, I'm going to guess 15 years. But it has been a like, it's coming for my 8 years here. And it is overdue. It is time. It's just, how are we going to do it? Not, do we need to do it? We do. We really, and anyone who works there or who has been there, or, especially our facilities team will tell you, we need to. So it's time. So what's that going to look like is the real question at this point.
Yep, absolutely. So just, before we give our important dates and things that are coming up for people to come out to, it's kind of been a tough month for us here at North Penn. We lost 2 teachers this last month and last couple of weeks here over at Nash and Oak Park. And just wanted to talk about that because there's a lot of folks hurting in our district right now, and talk about, the support. And I've seen just an amazing support and outreach in both those buildings. But talk about that and our teachers we've lost. And then, really importantly, one of the things that we've started up here over the last year, we've always had, a great connection with each other to support each other, but we actually have structure for, tragedy here as well. So when things are rough, that we support our students and our staff in these tough times. If we could talk about, this month and the impact that you saw and felt, and our TERT team, our TERT team, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. You're correct that folks in the North Penn School District are hurting. We lost 2 incredibly valuable, wonderful human beings who are 5th grade teachers. Kathy Truesdell is a 5th grade teacher at Nash Elementary School, and Sharon Sabatkin at Oak Park. Just tragic anytime you lose a staff member, part of our North Penn family. But in the face of adversity and challenge, it also helps to remind you what those individuals represented and who we are as a school community. Too often we see ugliness among adults at meetings or in the news. And I had the honor and privilege of seeing why this is such a great school district over the last couple of weeks. Each time I was at the buildings following the tragic news and got to see our leaders lead and our people be humanitarians, right? Like just helping one another, offering hugs, support. We do have, as you said, I don't love the name, we do have a TERT team, traumatic event response team, and that is composed of special education supervisors, counselors, psychologists, and we bring in some support sometime from the community. We also have Mario, one of our therapy dogs, who I've seen regularly at these buildings, reaching out to the family, supporting one another. I think people, when you have such a tragedy occur, people's knee-jerk reaction is, let's close school for the day. And my response to that is always, absolutely not. We need one another. The last thing we want to do is isolate kids and adults in the face of such sadness. Let's come together and support one another and make sure that those support structures are enduring. And, we take it one step at a time. So I really want to give a shout out to those folks who have been mobilized, and they shed their duties at their home buildings for the day or 2 days or 3 days, and they run over to that building and do whatever that building needs in terms of support, whether it be coverage, hugs, discussion, student groups, whatever. So really, really sad week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, at this point. But I am pleased to say that we will get through it. That doesn't make it easy, but we'll get through it together.
Yeah, and it was amazing to watch that. And like you said, it gives you when you see everybody coming together like that, and then you see, the structures we've talked about for so long actually in action helping. You go, okay, that's why we're doing this. And so sometimes, like, okay, why do we have this set up? And then you get to see it in action. So excellent job by everybody supporting there. And always say if you're still struggling or you're still looking for more help, to always reach out, because we have these structures in place and to help at all of our buildings for our students and staff. Let's talk about personal stuff here just a little bit. Oh, like that. I always like to throw this in here. Like before we wrap up here, how's the Bauer family doing? What's keeping your group busy this month? What's going on there?
Thanks, Bob. I thought you were going to say what's keeping things together, and I was going to say Mrs. Bauer.
There you go.
Yeah. So I think I've complimented her on this little broadcast we do before, but we have so much going on, and the demands of my job make that very challenging at times. But as I said, when I was newly hired, and honestly through the interview process, I am going to be a dad and a husband too. And that's my priority. And so my kids are involved in so many sports and activities right now. It's basketball and baseball for my son. It's basketball and lacrosse for my daughter. And we're always running somewhere. So tonight we have a finance meeting that starts at 6. My son's tip-off is at 7:40. So if I disappear off camera at one point, I'm going to run to his game, and I can catch up on the meeting later. So yeah, we've been very, very busy. We do love the winter sports. We love to ski. So we've tried to find time for that. But it's just go, go, go. If I'm not here for a meeting or attending a meeting virtually, I'm running to an event for my kids. And, I'm told you'll miss this one day, but it sure feels chaotic when you're in it.
It's for sure you'll miss it. As chaotic as it can be, and the stress and the pressure, when you run out of games to go to and things like that, it gets, you're like, oh, and you see other people doing like, oh, I miss doing that. But I'm not going to go watch someone else's kid 75 minutes away at a tournament. So I don't miss it that much to drive away and just watch other folks. But it's an important time. And that's where I say, for all parents out there struggling, because every single parent's running from one place to another. It's important for your kid. And it is, you'll look back and you'll miss the sitting in the stands on the hard bleachers and watching your kid, or watching a performance in an auditorium somewhere. It's an amazing time. And like you said, it doesn't always feel that way. But it is awesome. So I have two grown kids. Those kinds of opportunities aren't out there as much. So, so we're like 40 minutes in here. So we'll get to wrapping up for all of our dedicated viewers here. Couple things coming up. We've got our Black History Oratorical Competition on Thursday night here at North Penn High School in the auditorium. That is always an amazing night. So I'm really excited to see our selected competitors that goes through elementary through high school here. We have our North Penn Right Now next Tuesday. I know every single person that watches this tunes in live at 10 o'clock to watch it on Facebook as well. Any other big events, Dr. Bauer, coming up that you can think of?
So it is the conclusion of the winter sports season for Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletics. So I know we have several sports that are continuing into the postseason. So we wish all of our student athletes luck there. But we're also, approaching springtime. So the kickoff of spring sports, spring concerts for our musicians.
Spring musicals are just a couple weeks away.
That's where I was headed.
Yep.
Spring musicals across our secondary schools. It's really an exciting time. And in particular, of course, we've mentioned North Penn High School was the single high school in Pennsylvania to secure the rights to do Disney's Frozen. So get your tickets. It's a really exciting time for the North Penn High School theater program. And I'm really looking forward to all of these things happening. But Thursday, the oratorical competition is incredible. I mean, it's one of those events you get goosebumps on goosebumps. The talent that these kids have and the way in which they honor some of the greatest people in our country's history and the impact that they've had on all of us. It's really a special night. So I'm looking forward to it. 6 o'clock, North Penn High School.
Right here.
I hope to see you there.
All right, Dr. Bauer, I think that's all we've got for today. Anything else for the community?
I just have a request.
Yes.
I would love to do this show live on, I'm seeing over your right shoulder, WNPV 98.5 FM. Let's do this show live on the radio one time. We can stream the Facebook and do it on the radio. I just think that would be cool. Let's do it.
Yeah, we definitely could set that up. We have our student area that we have set up here at the high school that we broadcast from when they're doing their shows. Yeah, we'll look at that. So maybe the March Superintendent Live, which would be, I don't know, I didn't set the appointment yet. Probably the 27th.
Okay.
Right? Is that right? Yeah, no, sorry. It would be the 20th of March would be the next Superintendent Live. So who knows where we might be in a special location next time we do this. So, all right, folks, Dr. Bauer will do our wave.
Thank you.
Everybody has a great day, and we'll talk to everybody soon.
All right. Thank you, Bob.
Take care.
Bye-bye.